But that's their job, actually. Their job is to regulate all those food, drugs, and everything people take in. That's their job. So they are within the ambits of the law to hold him accountable, to ask, to know how he got his supposed certification for his miracle water or whatever he terms it. So these things go through regulation. So how did you get regulated to be able to provide these products for the public to consume?
Okay, I want to ask you a question. According to The Guardian, some bishops from Fufeyin's church and other Christian faiths on Tuesday staged a protest against the National Agency for Food and Substance Administration and Control, NAFDAC, over what they described as an attack on the prophet over spiritual products. The protesters said spiritual products have spiritual backing. They do not need NAFDAC approval. Speaking on behalf of the protesters, the Metropolitan Archbishop of the Charismatic Anglican Church of Nigeria, Most Reverend Professor Samuel Baba, cautioned NAFDAC on the spiritual matters. He said, "We are men of God and we are here in solidarity and to send a message to NAFDAC to refrain from its step over spiritual matters. NAFDAC does not have the right to regulate spiritual products. There is a limit to what people can do when it comes to matters of faith." Also, Rector, Union Theological Institution and Seminary, Port Harcourt, Evangelical Church, Most Reverend Calixtus and Most Reverend Celestine Eworum, added that they were only interested in the issue that concerned items that are spiritual. To the best of my knowledge, and which I have read through NAFDAC Act 2004, if there is an amendment, I don't know, that it should regulate spiritual products. Callistus said, NAFDAC don't have the right to declare products fake when it never tested the products. NAFDAC should come out clearly to say what is wrong with the water. What is your take as a lawyer on the claims from the bishops and the charismatic leaders in response to NAFDAC and Prophet Jeremiah Fufeyin?
Okay, so I think it just still boils down to the impunity with which Nigeria just acts, Nigerians and the government and everybody just acts with impunity, because there is nobody holding anybody accountable for wrongdoings. So it sounds very interesting that anybody would term water, would term anything that people will consume or apply on their body or take into their system as spiritual. What qualifies water as spiritual? Water has physical properties. It has chemical properties. If it is water, except it is not water, but if it is water, the chemical formula is H2O. So what properties in it is spiritual? Is the H, what does the H stand for? Is it heaven? The H. Then the 2, what does it stand for? The 2. Then the O, is it oxygen or is it omnipotent? What is the spiritual property of water? And I do not understand. I think it is the manipulation that people are being manipulated, like in Nigeria and mostly African countries, that make people not want to hold people accountable, take them to the court of law and follow the process through to the end for the court to give an interpretation. That is why I feel like these spiritual leaders or spiritual heads do these types of things because nobody is holding them accountable.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
want to understand, I would really love to understand what spiritual property is contained in water.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
from there, that is because when the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge, when you do not
Mm.
have knowledge, and if you have knowledge and you've not tested the knowledge, so how do you even understand what it entails? Because there's nothing spiritual about water. The properties are there. If you test it in Nigeria, if you test it in the UK, if you test it in the US, water is water.
Mm.
So how come Nigerian water has now got spiritual components?
Mm.
So like I
Mm.
earlier said, the the fundamental the fundamental job of the government, especially the executive, is to protect lives and properties
Mm.
and consumables and things that people use.
Mm.
It's supposed to be fit and proper for them to use.
Mhm.
So these are why they have all these types of regulations to protect people generally. And
Mm.
if there's nothing done about it, and one thing, religion comes in, and everybody, in fact, everybody takes a portion of what they want out of the system and use it to their advantage, to the disadvantage of the general members of the public. And there are people who are very, people look up to these people as their some sort of demigod or some sort of direct contact to God.
Mm.
And rightly so, because if people repose their faith and belief and hope in you, people have a right to believe that.
Mm.
But when there is falsehood as an undertone
Mhm.
to scam people of their money, and these things are false claims, they are bogus claims, these things don't work. And I
Mhm.
speak authoritatively as the first daughter of a pastor,
Wow.
of a Nigerian pastor.